So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. OnePlus 7 Pro. Now, before we get started, full disclosure, OnePlus did send this out for review months ago, but this video here is not a paid ad or sponsorship. I'm just sharing my 6 months later experience with this device. Now, let's begin by talking about what inspired me to create this video. First of all, I already had planned to give you a 6 month update on the OnePlus 7 Pro, but when I seen that the OnePlus 7 Pro just recently dropped to $549 for this phone, I was like, okay, it's time. Let's definitely go beyond the speed. Let's definitely cover the OnePlus 7 Pro again, because you really don't know what you're missing out on with this phone at that price point. This is an incredible piece of technology and device. We'll begin by talking about design, and I'm going to be discussing this phone in a way that kind of is in reference to a lot of the phones that came after this device. Let's talk about the big deal with the iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max with the matte feeling back. OnePlus already had this on the OnePlus 7 Pro. It's got that same type of texture on the rear. So if you do like what you've seen there, you'll love the OnePlus 7 Pro, and it's going to cost you half the price. Number two, the front of Stephen A. Smith, not today. The front of the display you're gonna see right here is all screen, and we don't have a notch up here. We also don't have a hole in the display on this one. So one of the most impressive displays of the year. And not only that, it was one of the first to go mainstream with a 90 hertz panel, which means this display is super smooth. And another thing is it's always on 90 hertz unless you decide yourself to turn it off. Right here in a simple box right here, just go 60 hertz, or you can go 90 hertz for ultra smooth feel. Now, this is especially useful in gaming and when scrolling through web pages, stuff like that. Everything just looks a lot smoother. And for the first time ever this year, I was able to feel an Android smartphone that surpassed the smooth feel of the iPhone and iOS, which is fantastic for 2019. So really, I don't know of any phone in this price point that's going to give you a display that's smooth. Talking about the rest of the design, you do have a curved panel, and some people do like the flat panels of the OnePlus 7T, which is a little bit more than this phone, surprisingly, right now, but it does give you a Snapdragon 855 Plus, but not quite as good of a display, in my opinion. We do have a vertical camera on the rear, not the square bump, so it's a little bit different than, Pixel and iPhone, but kind of similar to what we've seen on the Samsung Note series device with that vertical camera, although this one did come out first. OnePlus got rid of the branding down here, so it just says OnePlus, like the little FCC logos, things like that, at least for the US model. And you could see right there just their logo. And overall, I gotta say that it's rather heavy of a device. It is a big phone. It's not a small phone, but a lot of people really like these large phones these days. I gotta say the design for this kind of money is fantastic, and it feels every bit as premium as you might believe. Okay, so let's talk about that motorized camera here for the OnePlus 7 Pro. You can see it's very fast here to unlock the display. Not the most secure, but you do have that in-display fingerprint sensor. And of all these in-display fingerprint sensors, OnePlus's is one of the fastest on the market. So that's a great thing there if you want an in-display sensor. But that motorized camera, I could do this all day and it's not gonna break. So if you were wondering about the durability aspect, it's seemed pretty fine to me so far. And I haven't heard basically anybody complaining about it. If you know anybody who's had an issue with the durability, let us know down below, because I certainly haven't. So yeah, not only do you get a beautiful 90 hertz display, you also get an in-display fingerprint sensor, which is nice. I will say another thing, Oxygen OS. This is the only software on any phone besides the Pixel that gets updated so frequently. If we go to settings here and I go to my system and I go to system updates, you can see I'm on the latest version of 10.0.2. This is Android 10 already. There are many Samsung users right now waiting for the Android 10 update. So it brings some nice new gestures here if you want to use the Google gestures on here. Some people don't like those at all, but you can use them. Let me go over here up to navigation bar and gestures. You can use the Google gestures if you would like, which allows you to go to Google Assistant from the corners. So there is definitely a lot of features here in the OnePlus 7 Pro along with Android 10, but Oxygen OS is really what separates it. You can see that they've cleaned up the customization section here of their software, and it's very easy to understand. Here's your system customization. You have accent colors right here. We could change the colors. You can also mess with the display if you want it in P3 sRGB, or you can put it in AMOLED wide gamut mode. So definitely nice there. We could change the tone of the device. You want it colorful, dark? Do you want it light? Really, you got the option. You want to change the shape of how icons look. Like for example, up there, you can go round, you can go square up there. You can also change them to a teardrop. You go over here, I like it in the round rectangle mode. So you have icon packs. You can download these from the Play Store. Be careful where you download, make sure it's from a reputable developer, but you can download those and change out the icons. In addition, you could change out your font. So very clean customization on here, and it doesn't kind of clutter up the software. The rest of it is pretty straightforward. It's just a list view, and you have tons to mess around here. I think it strikes a nice balance between a simple software, smooth, but also giving you enough customization to really make it feel still like it's an Android device. So you can really take it to an ultra customized level on the OnePlus 7 Pro, or you can leave it the way it is and just enjoy Oxygen OS as a simple software that it is. So let's talk about performance. Now, this is not the 7T Pro with the 855 Plus. This is just the 7 Pro. That's just a slightly refined version of this. This is still basically the same phone. You do have 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabyte ROM. Now, the one you're gonna get for $549 is 8 gigabytes of RAM, so keep that in mind. And a Snapdragon 855, which is just a boss CPU. It's on the Galaxy Note 10 Plus. It's on the Pixel 4 XL, so it's still very current here, even though it's not the 855 Plus, still very current. And it's very fast. I've had that many issues, 0 issues with the performance here. I don't care what I'm doing. I could be playing PUBG Mobile in a match. I could be going into any application I want, and I will never have slowdowns on this phone. It hasn't crashed once. Actually, I would almost argue that the iOS software is a little bit buggier than this software right here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. Doesn't mean that this is a better software, that's really down to your opinion, but I've had less crashes and bugs on here than even iOS this year. So you're not only getting that 855 CPU on this device, you also get an Adreno 640, which is a great GPU for Android gaming. So that brings me on to the 48 megapixel camera on the rear. So how is this camera to use? Well, let me tell you one thing. OnePlus has been striving to improve this camera since it's come out. Almost every update they put out, there seems to be something they're fixing on the camera. And I could tell you that this is not the best camera on the market at all, but it's far from the worst. It's actually a very good setup here for the money, and probably one of the best in this price range you're gonna get. Also, the video quality on here is actually quite good. You can do 4K 60 frames a second video on here just by clicking right here, 4K 60p, and it looks smooth and sharp here for the OnePlus 7 Pro. But you can see just through the video that the colors aren't 100% natural. They do have a little bit of a saturated look sometimes, I feel like, and they do have a portrait mode though, but the software itself is just really enjoyable to use. It's super easy. You have your pro modes right here. You have your nightscape. You can change your settings, videos. Everything is just so simple on this phone to use, and I really do enjoy that. It makes it very easy for somebody who hasn't tried OnePlus before to just try this phone and get used to it. It's not that hard at all to use, and I think you'll be very happy with this camera. Even though it's probably not the best one on the planet, it's not going to disappoint whatsoever. As you can see right here, this is a 3x zoom shot. Look at the detail on that camera lens, the f1.8 to 2.8 aperture right there. I mean, this is pretty darn good stuff here for a smartphone, and you can enjoy it on that glorious display right there. Not only that, the front-facing camera of the OnePlus 7 Pro is super fun to use because, again, you have the whole display to frame yourself on there, and it has pretty good quality, actually pretty sharp selfies on this phone. So I'm not disappointed whatsoever in the selfie quality. Now, one thing I don't like is that you can only do 1080p video on the front. So if you're a vlogger or you're trying to vlog, it's not the best for taking front-facing videos if you want the highest quality. But still, I mean, remember, we're talking $549 here. We're not talking $1099, $1249. We're not talking $1,500. We're talking $549. So we're gonna cover audio, talking about maybe why you consider Samsung. Also, their dynamic AMOLED displays here have been really good with color accuracy, and a lot of let's take a moment of silence just for how beautiful that display looks when watching video. Welcome back. So you could see right here, audio, dual speakers. Dual speakers on here, dual audio setup. That's all you need to call it a premium phone, basically, as long as they sound pretty good, and they sound fine here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. Actually, they sound pretty darn good. And you do have USB-C, so no headphone jack, but you can get some pretty cheap bullet headphones if you would like. Those are pretty decent. I'll leave a link to those down below. And I also want to cover battery life. How could we not when we're talking about why this phone is worth it? We have a 4,000 milliamp hour cell in this phone. And what I could say about the OnePlus 7 Pro is, one, it's not the best battery life of the year, but it's by far not the worst. It gets you through a day quite easily and maybe stretching into a day and a quarter. It's got battery saving modes. Standby has been optimized in 10.02. It's getting better on standby, although there was some battery drain there initially. It's getting better. I gotta say, my screen on time's around 6 hours or so on this phone. I'm getting through a day with ease. I don't have an issue with the battery on here. And finally, phone call quality, which has been superb once again, having strong reception, strong phone calls, and strong speakerphone. I have no issue with the modems in here. The LTE signal strength is strong on here as well. But I will say one thing about this phone, and if you're not paying attention to the tech world, 5G is coming. I think there's a OnePlus already with 5G, and this one doesn't have it. So that could be a reason too why you're getting it for $549. Next year, there's gonna be 5G phones. So you might wanna keep that in mind. If you really want to be on the cutting edge, the cellular data, what kind of cellular data you're getting, you're not gonna get it here. You're gonna get the regular 4G LTE, but it's definitely super reliable and you're not gonna have an issue with it. So in conclusion, I absolutely love talking about this phone because this phone is just easy to recommend. It's so good. And OnePlus has this never settle branding thing going on. And honestly, I don't think they're wrong with this phone on that branding. Like, you're not really settling at all with this phone. As a matter of fact, you're getting a better deal than I think a lot of people that are paying $1,000 plus for a phone, especially if you know you're not the user who needs a pro camera on their phone. And even then, you could put out videos and photos on here and people would not complain. The camera's still pretty damn good. So OnePlus 7 Pro, hands down, after 6 months, super durable, reliable. Updates have been coming fast. It's beautiful. It's still a big thumbs up for me. What do you guys think about it? Do you have one? Did you upgrade? Do you have a 7T? Did you get a 7T Pro? Are you definitely coming up on this Black Friday deal for $549? Let us know down below what your experience has been. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a big favor, click that like button for me. If you're new here, subscribe for more. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to be well, and peace.